back. Welcome back. We are here for the third portion of our Sunday night bambling, ramble ding dong good times. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
Just is going to get rambling as it is.
Oh no! If Nigel
We have
can't
two
hold
more
it,
questions. We have structure. Simmer down.
if Nigel can't keep it together, there's no hope for any of us.
We got questions. We got answers. We got interaction.
We do. This one's pink and orange.
Sweet. That's a color combo I just love.
It looks like that many. Welcome to the Ramble Fest. Yes, Darren. Welcome to the Ramble Fest. The next question of the night is, do you reprofile your knives or do you leave them with a factory angle? Right off the hop, Gear in situ. I think Gear actually was the first person to comment right across the board, which we appreciate. He says he leaves it factory until it chips.
All right.
Which normally I'm thinning out an angle if I'm changing it. So I don't know if I'd wait for it to chip to be like, no, let's thin that motherfucker out.
I've got opinions, but I'll hold them to myself till, we're talking about those opinions.
You have opinions.
I also have beer.
Yes.
So on to the next question.
I'm pretty sure Joe just gave that look that he gives.
Yeah, it's one of those looks.
Yep.
Why, yes, I am better than you.
I'm not drinking this time. You all are fools.
Yes. Kiefer says, depending on what he's going to use it for and what angle it comes with. Which also makes sense. Like you did with your trail buddy.
Yeah, or another good example of that on the opposite end is the Manly Knives. Factory came with a 15. I didn't have to screw around with that at all, with it being like under 2 mils, here's my scar type of crap. Like on the spine, and then the full flat down to the edge. 15 degrees angle was sweet for me, and I've just continued to maintain it, right?
It's a hell of a knife.
Yeah. That thing cuts way above its pay grade.
Underrated, for sure.
Judgmental Joe face. Drink. We did drink for that. But I do really like Judgmental Joe face as a meme.
Oh, yeah.
So, and again, I can't pronounce this guy's name, but SMRK, CS SMRK likes to reprofile his knives.
Wow. So most of the people who have all of the people who have responded to this question so far have no problems reprofiling their edge. It's just a matter of choice. That's already...
And when.
Yeah.
Because we did hear that it was when you got a chip and you didn't do anything until you had a chip or whatever. Yeah, so.
Indeed. Zinx EDC says, keep it factory until you screw up on the stone, and then it's time to reprofile, which I've done that.
It's only a mistake until the third time. After 3 times, if you keep doing it, it's a new technique.
Either way, my stuff cuts, so I've been happy with it. Judgmental Joe face needs to be an emote. It really does. Do we have to pay to get emotes? Is that a thing?
I have no idea.
Hey, Joe. Internet later. Figure it out.
No, you're going to have to remind me. Just remind me later, because I will forget.
Yeah, not a problem. Mr. Fisk says, factory until it goes dull. And then you ship it off to a guy that does a really nice mirror edge. I added that last part.
Is that something he does often?
He gets some really nice mirror edges done on some of his knives, and they turn out really good.
For a while there, I don't know if they're active anymore, but there were a couple of guys, even on Blade forums, they had a whole side hustle of ship me your knife, I'll put a crazy fucking edge on it. that was their whole shtick. Not a regrind, not the primary bevel didn't change, just the edge. But I mean, beautiful mirror edges.
I might be mistaken, but has Fisk got work done by Rev Hiker by any chance? Because I know they're both on Instagram, and I know Rev Hiker does do, but I'm pretty sure his 943 got done by Rev Hiker. I could be wrong.
We're gonna find out in chat here in just a second.
I'm sure we will. But yeah, and Rev seems like a pretty nice guy. Even as much as he loves his Jesus, I won't hold it against him. Like it's so.
Just a little shade, though.
Well, I brought it up, didn't I?
Oof.
He thinks Spade Knife Works on Instagram used to do that.
Yeah,
as well.
I believe he's correct.
There's been a number of people that I've seen, both people specifically doing it and saying, "Hey, I've sharpened this person's knife," and sending it back to them, and "Hey, so and so sharpened my knife. Look how amazing it looks."
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen that in the community for sure. Yeah.
Ahsoka Edge says, depending on the use, if you're cutting abrasive material, profile stays the same, or the angle is even increased. Get a little more wedgy with it, which, depending on what you're beating on, it kind of makes sense. That's why axes exist.
I was gonna say, there's not too many instances I've run into where I've wanted to reprofile a knife to make it thicker behind the edge, right? Or to increase that angle. But there have been.
Know if I have.
Sorry?
I don't know if I personally have ever changed the angle to be more obtuse instead of acute. I almost always make it thinner.
Yeah.
Sometimes on purpose.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've never gone more obtuse, but I think that also comes down to knowing how you treat the edged object, right? Like how abusive you are, things like that, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you're cutting
Sorry. I have talked about apple seeding a grind or something like that, which I think does a similar kind of job where it would reinforce that edge a little bit more, right? Give you a little bit more meat behind the angle, behind the edge.
Meat behind the angle.
I don't know. Something about that just doesn't sit right.
Well, it's the fact that there's a bowling alley in Calgary called the Angle, right? So
right. That's terrible.
Darren is saying, depending on what you're beating on, laughing at me. He's apparently taken up Justin's job of finding the innuendo in all the words that come out of our face.
Yeah.
So Justin had a meeting, right? So
yeah, exactly. And
someone had to fill that hole.
Indeed. And Mr. Fisk has apparently crawled into my DMs and is telling me to check my DMs.
Oh,
but no, I have questions and answers even.
You can sext later.
The second half of Ahsoka Edge's answer is, if it's a low or non-abrasive material, then he reprofiles it more shallow. I like the fact he actually commented the one and then went back and commented the second one. As you can see, I actually have them numbered. Count to 2 in my brain and remember.
Shit, Paul.
That's why we have the random number generator. Right?
Apparently, at this point, I could be the random number generator.
Hey, Paul, give me a random number.
7. I thought about it way too long.
There was a bit of loading time there. I don't know.
I would have called it lag, but
No, that was
turbo lag.
Processing time.
Oh, terrible.
Look, this grapefruit juice has some booze in it. It's only like 2.5%, but apparently I'm a super lightweight. It's a Flyboy thing. Justin said that he likes to see how the knife performs with a factory edge, all the way down to dullish, and then he goes from there. So if it performs good at that angle, he continues with it. If
That's
not, then
generally how I am.
Yeah, that's a good argument for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Sometimes
really
it's,
depends on the knife too. If the knife comes with a good edge out of the box, I'm gonna use that edge until I can't anymore.
well, it's like,
But I will say I find out right away, like within the first like 24 to 48 hours of me owning that knife, I'm like sure that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do something about that, or yeah, I'm happy the way it is, type of thing. Like it doesn't take me long
yeah.
to figure out.
Cut a few pieces of cardboard and see how that blade slides through and go, it can be better.
Yeah, you got to see how it slides through before you want to change anything up.
Couple times. You gotta slide it through a couple times.
Some
I
repetitive
don't know what
motions.
drink.
Stop making me drink more. Stone Wookie says if he was to try and reprofile a knife, it would no longer be able to legally be called a knife.
It's a
What
trainer.
would they have to legally change its name to?
Trainer.
That's what I'm curious.
It would be a trainer. I'm assuming he means he would dull it out.
Well, I was going to say like a knife-shaped object. Yeah, a trainer.
My God, speaking of, I don't think Darren is capable of something this horrendous, but I showed you pictures of this guy from years ago, but do you remember the ZT, I think it was the 450, that was the longer version of the Sinkovich, right? The
That's
one,
52 is the bigger one.
the 452 is the bigger one? Same one that Paul has. Somebody had sharpened that with a Dremel to the point where it looked like a Henkel's fillet knife.
He came in, I almost cried.
Yeah, he did it again. I sold him a replacement knife, the exact same one, and then he did it again. After I spent 2.5 hours explaining sharpening over the course of a few days, because he kept coming back to ask for advice. And then, he said he was ashamed, so he didn't come back sooner, but like several months later came back with this folding fillet knife, and I'm just like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, just burn marks all over the blade.
Yeah.
Too. Like,
I wish I still had pictures, because it was amazing.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure he came in and had Dennis put an edge back on that thing at the end of it, because he was like, I can't get it right.
and then I gave him information about blade replacement from ZT and said, "Good luck, dude. I hope you do." But it's
It's like $30 US. It's a pretty good warranty from them. So
here's
I don't
hoping.
know how many times
Here's
they'll let you
hoping.
do that.
Yeah, I hope he gets his replacement, because damn.
I hope that he finds somebody else to do his sharpening for him, because it's bad.
Well, I mean, I put a wedge of a blade back on that one, but it wasn't anything to be proud of. Like,
Yeah. It will cut things. But dude, it was the spine thickness was basically what the edge was at that point. Like it was so obtuse.
I say incredible, but I do not mean it in a positive way. It was incredible.
Darren is also saying that he can do worse. Challenge accepted.
Please don't. Please don't. Or maybe do and upload pictures.
I know the knives in his collection, so I'm just thinking about what could take a hit. Just like, I don't know.
Apparently, he doesn't want the Spartan, so he can.
He's got an S30V blur, and I know he wants that new M4 one. So, like, go fuck around with some S30 and see where it gets you. I don't know. That's
No.
I thought he picked up one of those M4 blurs.
That's
Anyway.
what I mean. That's why he can fuck around with his S30 one now. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a blur to spare. Yeah.
He's got a
No.
Q-bar zombie folders that he's gonna resharpen.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
It's Oz 8. That'll be nothing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Make it into a toothpick.
He's gonna make it into a recurve Nesmuck, but on accident. Like it's
But backwards.
in a P-Cal grid. Like it's
I don't like any of that.
No. Mad One Outdoors says, rarely are they even. So over time, he reprofiles just a little at a time. Which, if my angles are slightly out, like if my angles are good, but the grind's not quite even, I will do the same thing. Every time I sharpen it, I'll try and even them up more and more. Especially if it cuts decently well like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I can't feel the difference while cutting, that I'm kind of a lazy knife sharpener that way, though. I won't
And I
bother
think that
doing
comes
it.
down to, again, the first couple times whether you notice something on the thickness or the thinness more
Yeah.
than it is the symmetry. I think if the thickness and the thinness is still like, yeah, it's too thick, well, at the same time, I'm going to correct that. But if it's still a thin enough bevel, but it might not be 100% symmetrical, I'll probably still wait till it's dull the first time and then proceed on working on evening that out, right? So,
as I was even saying it, I was kind of thinking about the fact that previously that was definitely what I did. The bevels on my 452 weren't the most even, and I just kept using the sharp maker over time to kind of clean them up. And now they're perfect. But I've gotten much more comfortable sharpening my hand now, and I find it much easier to clean up a bevel by hand than I do trying to do it where I'm not really seeing the bevel, where it's the angle of the knife is completely turned away from me if you're using the sharp maker the way it's supposed to be used, right? So, yeah.
Yes.
Stuff. Things.
More answers.
Yep. Just gonna pop back into the chat a little bit here. Mr. was wondering what we used for sharpening at the shop with.
Oh.
So I figure Dennis will be the one to chat about that.
I might use a belt system, and I've got a couple different grits that I use with a belt system, and I do like keep them like wet and cool as I'm doing blades, and then basically it's a felt buffing wheel with stropping compound, or a hardened felt wheel. We found out it's more of a what is it? It's
more of a polisher,
polishing wheel than it is a buffing wheel.
Yeah.
For sure.
We just got a little belt grinder. It's a 2x32.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
And it's nothing major, but it gets the job done quite well, and ultimately comes down to the user behind it and decent quality enough belts and decent grits that are. But again, we only charge like $5 polar bear dollars for our sharpening, at least here in Calgary. Check your provincial stores for variations. Anyway. But yeah, having said that, I'm not putting mirror polishes on like some of the guys with the Wicked Edge and the KMEs and the
No, but you're getting a pretty you're getting a pretty reflective finish. Even so, that felt buff really does help bring out a pretty good polish.
And I think it does depend steel to steel too.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You give me something with a 154 CM or something like that type of thing, and that polishing wheel will make it shine within 2 or 3 passes, right?
Right.
Whereas if you give me something that's an M4, 20 CB, an S90, something like that, that buffing wheel is going to make it slightly better, but it's not going to make it shine like some of those other steels.
Yeah.
Because, wear resistance is a thing.
Yes. Mr. Fisk is saying, isn't a polar bear dollar $2? Yes, that's 2.5 polar bear dollars or 5 lumens.
He's catching on.
He's learning.
That means that slowly, he will come across the border.
Loonies and toonies and maples. Oh my! Do we have a maple? Is that? I don't.
Well, we were talking about smells like maple syrup the last episode, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's all we have is loonies and toonies and 50s. If you can't figure out your change from that, go to hell.
What do you think is in our till? We're like loonies, toonies, and 50s. Like it's That's how we give out change. We round up from those things.
Somehow we're still in business. And we're
It's
not
logical.
taking heavy losses. Somehow.
that's not how we do any of our business. For the record.
I do like that you have to clarify after the fact.
Lost our cutting edge sponsorship.
What's that, Paul?
So we just lost our cutting edge sponsorship.
Yeah.
Never a knife review.
Here's to drink into that.
Excuse me.
No.
Joe, I'm gonna need those knives back.
Oh, you'll get them.
You guys, you three there, the three of yous.
Uh-oh.
How do you like your angles? What do you do?
Dennis, we know he does what Dennis wants.
I have many answers for those things. It depends on the steel. It depends on the stock thickness. It depends on the depth of the grind. It depends on so many goddamn things.
Mhm.
Depends on the factory edge. Yeah. So yes and or no is my answer.
I will give a very non-Joseph answer. 20 degrees. 20 degrees or 15 degrees. That's it. Generally speaking, I don't reprofile my knives. I'll resharpen them to whatever angle they came with. Occasionally, I'll resharpen to a 20 degree if I think if it is too thick. Sometimes, rarely, I'll reprofile even thinner to the 15.
2 hours later.
But yeah, generally speaking, the cutting performance I get out of those, they make me happy. So I don't change them all that much.
So do we all really like how Joe was going to give a very Joe-on answer, and then he still gave a Joe answer?
Yeah. I had to pat it. I had to pat it.
It's not a Joe answer if he doesn't waffle on for a little while.
I got it. I got it. I appreciate the use of the word waffling, by the way. It's great.
Yep. What are you there, Nigel?
Usually I like the factory edge, just kind of test it, see how it is, see how it handles, and depending on that, I'll reprofile. I think pretty much the only one in recent history that I can think of that I bought knowing I was going to reprofile or doing a little bit of work right away was the bailout. Because I'm still on the fence if I want to get rid of it being a Tanto or not, but at least that front edge, and I really thinned it out because I found that front tip so obtuse.
And it's M4. I mean, it can handle those thin edges, so why not push it, right? Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I usually leave things how they are and test it out for a little while.
Right.
It makes a pretty decent craft knife with that reprofile tip too, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Jesus, I've seen Nigel do push cuts into. Granted, sure, it was pine, but just him doing push cuts into the wood and just seeing the blade just vanish into the wood, like, Jesus Christ, that's quite the edge.
Yeah.
Just like a little
M4
chisel.
is fancy stuff for sure.
Mhm.
And what I was going to say is that the primary bevel on a knife matters as much to me, and whether I'm not going to change the angle of the secondary edge as anything else. If it's got a really good thin grind, taking that and reprofiling it to a 15 degree and just accentuating that feel makes sense. Taking a knife that's thick and wedgy, like an Adamas, for example, and putting that at 15 degrees, it doesn't really make sense in that.
I
idea.
wouldn't do it with that knife. Yeah, for sure.
I did
the thing that I will do with a lot of knives, especially if the steel will take it, is I might keep the same profile, but polish out that edge, make it nice and shiny.
Right. Just push whatever's there, see how it performs.
Depending on the steel.
It's 100% depending on the steel.
I was just gonna mention it's one of those things too where if you, as soon as you see M4, it's like, oh, I could push this to a mere polish and it's gonna perform. Or you see D2 and you know that you could push it, but you see S90 and you see S30 and it's like might be wasted effort here.
So the best part is both D2 and M4 have both been on more than one platform kind of proven to be better on a toothy edge, although they still perform well on a polished edge.
Mm-hmm.
So both the steels you pointed out, Joe, was actually kind of funny that like there's been a couple different channels that have said actually D2 and M4 perform slightly better with more of a tooth,
Right.
but they still perform spoken with a polish, so you might as well, right? Like
Yeah.
So
it's all about trade-offs. Like, well, what's your preference, right?
My goal is to re-sharpen my H&K with just the diamond paddle and then go to strop and make it as sharp as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, because normally I get my sharpness out of like polishing out that edge. So it's going to be a challenge for me to try and get it.
But when you're talking to me about like mirror polishes, you're talking about like M390s, 20 CVs,
100%.
154 CMs, Sandviks, things like that, right?
F35,
Like,
D2. I'm not sorry, D2. 3V. It's got a number in there. It's the same.
It's a number in the letter.
Yeah. What else do you need?
more. I need more to work with here.
Like another question?
Sure.
Let's do
Sure. We've got 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, good luck. What knife in your collection deserves more pocket time? And I'll go through these fairly quickly, just because, like Dennis says, we are getting fairly late here. Gear in situ said, good question. Skyline, Link, Blur, Dividend, Knockout. Oddly enough, they all happen to be made in America Kershaw's.
This is the trend I noticed there. Yeah.
Are they all assisted? Or 9
No,
out of 10?
Skyline's not assisted.
Right. It's not. The Skyline, I wish that it hadn't caused all the drama at the border, because it was a Skyline that did it, wasn't it?
Kind of, maybe, sort of. It was kind of Kershaw's fault.
Because I kind of want to play with a Skyline, because I've heard good things about them. But I don't think
they're a good
send the Skyline to the to Canada at this point.
I've got a Damascus Skyline you can mess around with for a bit if you like. The edge retention is comparable to 14 Sandvik, but maybe not quite as good, at least in my experience.
I'm going to fuck Joe's Damascus Skyline. I'm going to mess around with it.
I also like the fixed-bladed Skyline, too, for the record, even though
I've never held it. There's also a Skyline XL. And
yes, and I think you can get those in S30 as well as Sandvik.
Really?
Anyway, it's sidetrack.
Unfortunately, not Sandvik. They came out in 8CR.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There was a point where I said I was going to run through these answers fairly quickly.
Sorry.
Then waffles are delicious. Mr. Fisk says the Sabenza 21 doesn't get enough pocket time. Which specific one? Because I think you have one for every day of the week, or you have.
No. I think he just means it in general. It doesn't get enough.
There's a very sad Sabenza in the corner of Mr. Fisk's room that just like no pictures, no nothing.
It's got like emo hair in its eyes.
There's some black and white music with one spotlight kind of shining on it every day when he wakes up in the morning and doesn't pick it.
I know what you mean
We
by
just don't
black
know
and
which
white.
one it is.
I know what you mean by black and white music, but what do you mean by black and white music?
I liked watching the confusion on both Joe and Paul's face trying to comprehend that.
Black and white video with old slow music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I figured, but
That's right. Black and white music.
Indeed. Ahsoka
I'm
Edge.
pretty sure we're... Go ahead, Paul.
Ahsoka Edge says they all get their fair shake, which I wish I was better at that. I wish that every time I walked out the door, I was carrying a different knife that I had the day before, but I'm not good at doing that. I kind of have little honeymoon phases with my knife where I want to carry them every day. And then they get put away, and then I find it again, and I pick it up, and I'm like, this is the one. This is getting carried with me for the next 3 weeks or a month, or sometimes it's 3 or 4 days. But it always seems to be an ebb and a flow where I keep them in my pocket for more than 1 day at a time.
Right.
Kiefer apparently is also good at that. He said all of them. Oh, no, sorry, the opposite. None of them got enough pocket time. You just need to pull the Joe and carry 6 or 7,
Jesus
10,
Christ.
15 at a time.
That's the only
And you can
way.
carry more of your collection at once.
That's the only way that you can give them all the love that they deserve.
Indeed. Joe Frazier said his Matt Diskin IDF made by Riot, which I have no idea what that is.
But it's Matt Diskin made by Riot, so it can't be all bad.
Indeed. Burrow EDC says his Spyderco worker reproduction. Reproduction, re-release?
Was that the sprint run version, possibly?
I would assume probably, yeah.
And they did a commemorative one. So I think there's been a couple, because they had the original worker, and then they did the commemorative worker.
That's the
And
Matt.
that's a good looking knife.
That is the Matt Diskin.
Yeah, I'd carry that.
That's not a bad looking knife. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple different versions of a worker out there.
Fair enough. Zinx EDC said his Chavez Velos. I think that I said that right.
I don't know what that is, and I don't know how to spell that.
Veloz.
I bet you it's just a Chavez, so it's just big and bulky. I mean, that's the problem with some of those Chavez knives is they're really nice, but they're
the Ultramar, the original one it's way overbuilt, and I don't care. It's a single finger choil and greatness.
I know the
thing that I like about thing I like about the Chavez knives, and especially like the older ones and his original ones, is they have the same sort of aesthetic as like turn of the century safes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much
just
so.
That nice, clean, big block, but just pristine in that big blockiness.
Even the color of that, was that G10?
Titanium.
Even the color of that titanium looks like a color that you would see a safe painted back in the day, that kind of greeny black color.
Yeah.
Yeah. I dig it.
I have, yeah.
Did you
like
notice
the MPR or the amphibian?
Did you notice the thumb stud?
No, but that's amazing.
Nice.
Also, I didn't realize that he made flippers, and now my life is turned upside down. I need one of those.
Oh yeah, Chavez makes flippers. Yeah.
How many dollars did that cost you, Zinx? Because I need one. Excuse me while I fix my hair. So vain. Mr. Fisk is thumbing down Chavez. No. Stop it. Stop it.
Just because he's biased on his titanium frame locks, I mean, we are.
Yeah. It's fair. It's a Flyboy thing. Justin said the Spidey Tough, which if I owned one, that would be one that would be in my pocket more often too. It's such a weird knife. It's so
kind of pissed that Dennis doesn't carry that more.
It's not even in the EDC. It's just in the collector's pouch.
I know.
Don't carry it.
I know. I hate it.
It's like a pelican.
Mm-hmm. Or like the shoebill storks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun though.
Oh, okay. So Zinx, the gentleman that has the Chavez Velos, says he agrees with Mr. Fisk. So I don't know what the drama is there, but let us know in the chat.
The Mr. Fisk said my rendition was like holding a sock full of broken glass.
I remember that comment a couple weeks back, actually. Yes.
So apparently they're not all universally well crafted.
Ergonomic.
Now,
Yeah.
Are you saying that the angles weren't like cleaned up, or is it just a big block and you didn't like?
It was like the Adam S, but sharp.
So
I'm asking if it was sharp or not. Because any of the ones that I've handled have been really nice. That's why I'm asking. Because I don't want to get one that's all sharp and a pain in the ass. If I'm going to spend that kind of money.
Mhm.
All right, continue on with the answers though.
Dang nabbit.
Yeah.
Stone Wookie says the Sword of the Witch King, perfect for the pocket.
Yep.
He had
Apparently
the dagger the other day, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like,
I believe so.
I mean, he should be able to dual wield while he's like live streams, right?
terrible.
Mhm.
What's he gonna type
It's like
with?
Joe, just put 6 swords in your pocket to appreciate them all at the same time, right? Like,
Hell yeah.
I've seen this giant knives
It
go.
got heavy real quick. This was too many.
You just need 5 more.
There you go. I hate it, for the record.
Yeah.
And then again, apparently, I don't know how to say this guy's name. SMRKECSMRK. The Civivi Elementum.
Yep.
And I feel like I know this knife.
You do. You would
We've
recognize
talked
it
about
as soon as you
several
see it.
times, even tonight.
Does it look? Is the Elementum the one that looks kind of like a Crooked River?
No, it looks like
It looks
like a
like
blob.
a wee banter with a flipper.
Okay.
Nah, I wouldn't say that.
It's a slightly bigger wee banter with a flipper.
And it's
but
rounded.
yeah, you know what it is. We've
You're
talked
right.
about it with the Damascus and the Savivi, even. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's boring.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
I like it.
It's the right kind of boring, I think.
Fair enough.
That's probably why it doesn't get carried, is because it's just a very functional knife, but it has no flash to it, so it doesn't have any draw, right? So maybe, I don't know.
I mean, there are occasions where I'll carry something specifically because it's like, no, but check this out.
Yeah, of course.
On that note, what are your guys' answers?
Mine, I kind of took care of this in the springtime. My shot show collection.
Yeah.
Because those guys weren't getting enough pocket time, and yeah, I tried to fix that up in the springtime. So I don't know what else right now that needs more pocket time.
I was going to say that kind of sounds like a bullshit answer, and Nigel not answering what the actual question is right now, which is what doesn't get enough pocket time. And we can all answer while Nigel thinks about a real answer instead of that garbage. But no, I'm just saying.
That's a good answer.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's also okay to say that, you rotate stuff that you want to carry, and there's nothing that you have in your collection that you don't feel isn't carried enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Nigel is also fairly well known for buying knives because he's going to carry them. He doesn't buy stuff just because it's.
But I think we all have those knives where you're just like, yeah, they're great, but you just don't carry them often enough. Like even the full size Crooked River for you, because you've broken open the shot show knives and you're carrying them a lot more. I haven't personally.
Honestly, it's because of the scales I did and the little bit of the jankiness with them, and the jankiness with them is getting worse, and you can see the scales slipping back and forth, and that's the big reason why I haven't been carrying this guy much lately.
I understand.
Okay.
Well,
so that might be one of your answers, is your Crooked River, because you'd like to carry it more, but you have janky scales, right? So,
yeah.
Do you still have the original scales for those
it
kicking
sounds
around?
like an STD for the record.
Yeah, I kept the original scales.
Cool.
What was that, Paul?
I said that sounds like an STD. Janky scales.
Oh my.
Wow.
It's either that or it's a jazz album.
I prefer jazz album. That's way cooler.
Jazz is stupid. I mean, just play the right notes.
All right. Who next?
I guess I have answers.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, it's actually two knives in particular that I look at and I feel guilty because I haven't carried in a really long time, but I actually really like them. The first one actually is the Spyderco Zulu. I love this blade shape. I love how it feels in hand when I'm using it, but I hate carrying this thing. And I hate it and I oh, it's a hideous fucking masterpiece of a grotesque knife. The custom doesn't look much better.
There's a very good reason why that shouldn't be getting pocket time.
Right, but as far as like a very thin hollow ground S30V blade from Spyderco with a blade type that I actually love using, it just doesn't see enough time in my pocket. And I don't know. I look at this and I feel guilty. It's like I don't like carrying it, but I want to have it with me so I can use it. So it's a really stupid conundrum.
See, Joe, it's not so much the guilt for not carrying it. It's the guilt because you own it.
No. You can't make me say that because it's not true.
Can I just say for the record, though, that is such a...
I bet you we could make him say it for the record.
What?
If you took the hole out of that blade and showed it to the world, I guarantee you most people would be like, Spyderco? Are they the one that produced that production of that?
No. They say, oh, hey, did somebody rip off John Grimsmo and smush his blade, even though this came out first? Because this is basically a Norseman blade. Just meh.
Yeah.
Watch me stab myself in the hand with a Zulu. The other one, and this has just been kind of bugging me lately, has been the Cali 3. It's such a similar knife to my native, right? I don't feel like I'm really missing out as much anymore, but I've used this knife a lot in the past, and I've really enjoyed it. I haven't really experienced the chipping issue that a lot of people have had with ZDP, but it just doesn't get the pocket time for whatever reason. So yeah, those are my two.
Indeed. Did you give an answer, Dennis?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
You do that.
I have several answers. Actually, one of mine is the Cali 3, but it still will come out from time to time. I think I carried it a week and a half ago, something like that, because of the ZDP, and I just remind myself about the ZDP. Honestly, the Gale Bradley 2, or Gale Bradley 1, sorry. I love this knife, but it's bulky in the pocket. I think I would like the GB2 more than the GB1. I would be even willing to trade if someone was interested. One I've talked about for several weeks now is the Benchmade North Fork. It's going to get the chopping block soon because of the mini Super Freak. We all know that's coming. So that one I don't even feel bad about not carrying. It's just going to happen.
It's like it's a good knife, but it's been outclassed kind of thing.
Yeah. So I don't feel guilty about ditching that one. The one that hurts me the most that I feel neglected about is actually the Pleroma. I have carried it. I carried it last week because I was feeling guilty about it. But the problem is that I bought a Rhino.
Yeah.
And these knives here are right-hand only carry. So I have got in the habit of left-hand carry, right-hand carry, at least carrying two pocket knives at any point in time. And the Rhino has been kicking ass and taking names. I absolutely love that knife. So the Pleroma, which was only bought last year, probably hasn't got as much pocket time as it deserves because that thing's just been a monster. And I've loved it since I bought it, right? So...
I finally looked at Mr. Fisk's DM to me.
Oh my.
Oh my.
I'm assuming it's a dick pic. Ah, there it is. Yeah, pretty much. No, nice. He nailed it.
Yeah. No, the best part is he didn't even pick a random. He just like street shopped what was there at that moment, and it's just you all the time.
Pretty much, just silently judging you.
Silently.
Well, until I say something, then it's no longer silence.
Until I say so.
That's the way words work, Joe.
Yeah, imagine.
And I was sitting here already with an answer, and I was actually going to give a two-part answer of my H&K Access, which doesn't see enough pocket time, and the Cold Steel Broken Skull, which I carried a lot when I first got it, but I haven't carried in a little while. But the correct answer is the Zero Tolerance 909 that I got 6 months ago, and I have never once carried it.
Yeah.
Thing's a brick, though. Holy cow, it's a brick.
It is, but I've wanted to take it out and use it just to see how it does.
You should bring it out in front of camera so we can see.
But it's all the way over there.
That means you would have to find it.
Paul.
No, I know exactly where it is.
The 909 is the big Les Georgie
I know.
thing.
I like that thing. Similar in profile to the 804, right? I mean, we'll see in a second, but it's basically that. Very similar profile.
Kind of.
Blade shape is completely different, but
Yeah, more of a drop point,
I
right?
can't remember what Les George. It was the little stubby one with titanium, and this is just like they blew up that stubby one with titanium and put G10 and steel liners.
it
or
even
whatever,
has the
right?
same lines in the G10.
It weirds,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, it weirds me out so much that they gave that knife that pivot assembly, built it as tanky as they did, and then threw ball bearings in it. It's so strange to me that they chose ball bearings instead of washers in that particular knife.
And what's the
It's a
steel
Zero
on that one?
Tolerance. It is S35.
Okay. Yeah.
I carry this so infrequently that I took the pocket clip off of it and tried to put it on my 801. But the screws on the 909 are narrower than the screws on my 801. So the screws just dropped into place without catching the threads at all.
Bummer.
For this big beefy knife. Like,
That's funny.
really though? But it's a good, like, it feels comfortable in hand. I don't know how it's gonna feel in pocket. It's kind of a brick.
It's kind of like the Adamas, where it's just like, holy cow, that is just a huge knife to carry. Like,
For record, Adamas, broken skull.
Yeah.
like when's the last time you saw me carry a 301? Right? Like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used
Tigger
to
died.
carry the Adamas pretty frequently, but
Tigger's still here. Tigger, he won't go anywhere. He'll always be in the EDC. He'll never get retired, but it's ridiculous. Just because.
It's obscene. On that note,
I think we rounded it out.
I do have one
Cool.
final sip.
What was that, Paul?
I do have one final sip. I said on that note, so I had to drink.
Right. So yeah, sounds like we're getting rounded up here. Thanks once again to both Mr. Fisk and Darren here for participating in our giveaway. Going to remind everyone that if you are wanting to participate in future giveaways, pay attention to our Instagram page as well as heading over to the Patreon and signing up.
Also want to shout out to the Cutting Edge tonight because they supplied the Benchmade stuff that Joe has over there. Show it off again, you
I
son
sure
of a bitch.
do. I'm reaching, damn it, I'm reaching.
So yeah, those were super cool. Again, check out because I'm telling you, the pictures don't do the new versions justice at all. Get them in your hands because they're super sweet.
You gotta hold him.
And then
Super
Paul
cool.
flash up that Tactical Innovations Canada.
Oh yeah.
Threw in the headlamp that we gave at a giveaway, and Darren, I think, gets that giveaway. Was it Darren won? I don't know. There was a controversy. Was there a recount? I don't know.
No.
Mr. Fisk is saying that his cat is going to love his new collar flashlight. So
Excellent.
Oh, put it on motion sensor.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't. And put it on red, like red flashing motion sensor, because you can red flash and you can make that motion sensor.
You're going to give that cat PTSD, man.
No, I'm going to give the rest of his cats PTSD.
Also, head on over to the Pokey Factor on Instagram. Give us a follow there. If you know somebody that is into knife reviews and random bullshit happening on Sunday night, tell them to come over and give us a follow. Get us to that magical 1,000 mark. That'd be pretty damn neat.
As well as the 500 on YouTube, because we've been hovering for a while on that 500.
Yeah.
It's been a slow crawl, yeah, on both. So
join us.
That all being that, this is Nigel the Smith signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
xl.ca.
We will catch you next time.
I missed the opportunity to say I am the Judgmental Joe.